which is totally cool. But let's continue with that discussion, that conversation, and let's think about when we hear the word transgender or gender nonconforming, and out there in the world, what do we think of, or what do people around us think of when they hear the word transgender or the term like transgender community? What are some things? And they don't have to all be good. Let's also think about some of the the not so good words when it comes to that. Who wants to volunteer? So if I say transgender,
I know a lot of people always say the word it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Transgender.
I think it was a man wanting to be a woman or a woman wanting to be a man. So that's what I thought. I don't know if I'm right. But
Transgender.
I look at it straight up and down, honest human being. That's what I see as a person, a human being.
Transgender.
I think courage.
One more.
Trans.
Trans. I don't
Trans.
like that. Trans.
You
Sounds
don't.
like a car.
Let's get one last one.
One more.
Which is him.
All the colors of the rainbow.
Yay. Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the honesty.
That's
Yes.
it.
Perfect. So now we're gonna go into the term, into the community. What do we think of, or what does the world think of when they hear, LGBT immigrant?
Same thing. LGBT immigrant.
Yes, say it. I don't think too much. Just say it.
Struggle.
Struggle. LGBT immigrant.
Lost.
Lost. LGBT immigrant.
Discrimination.
Misunderstood.
Discrimination.
Discrimination.
Worry.
Worry. Thank
Anyone
you.
else?
Thank you.
Poverty. Poverty.
Hidden.
Hidden.
Exactly.
Judgmental.
Judgmental.
Right.
Prostitution.
Prostitution.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now we're taking it a lot more. How does the media see, right? How does the media? What else does the media portray us?
Us.
Us as being an LGBT immigrant.
Misinformed.
Uneducated.
Uneducated. Prostitution, somebody says.
Not
Opinionated.
Confused.
Not
Confused.
Confused.
Opinionated.
No welcome.
Not legal.
Not legal.
Opinionated.
Opinionated.
Media is opinionated.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened, Christina, with all these? Unfortunately, sometimes people that are trans or are immigrants end up believing what people think about them. Right?
So low self-esteem.
Yeah, and it's a lot, it goes straight to your self-esteem. So now,
I had to share a little bit more about that because the link didn't register, so.
okay, so I have to tap and dance.
It's tall.
How important it is to think about these thoughts that we have when it comes to a trans person or to an immigrant, and sometimes when it comes to a trans person that happens to be an immigrant, not to impact them with what we think. Because if I have the idea of a transgender person and it related to sex work or prostitution, that does not cover the whole trans community. And trust me, I am the biggest ally of sex workers. I think that, sex work is your choice, yay. But, it's not the reality of all transgender immigrants. So how do we approach somebody that is trans or is not an immigrant with any kind of judgment and any kind of I used to have this word in my mind for a long time, or any kind of judgment. Exactly, that's exactly what it is. So that's what we're trying to do today. So let's see who is Christina Herrera. She's nobody yet.
Follow
silent.
NPR on Twitter.
You know that by heart. Come on.
Yeah.
From the best of NPR stories and the song of the day to tweets from our hosts, your source for great NPR content.
Transition stories for transgender people are all different. While Rajinder Naransingh went far and took risks, we're about to hear two transition stories that come from different generations and from very different places. Cristina Herrera began her transition from male to female when she was 16 years old. At the time, Cristina was living in New York City during the height of the AIDS epidemic. She watched as the disease devastated her community. A self-titled trans Latina, Cristina shares her journey from living as a young boy in El Salvador to becoming a strong woman living in New York.
My name is Cristina Herrera, and I am a community organizer. I came to the U.S. when I was 11 years old. I'm originally from El Salvador, and I began to really start to explore who I was, and I wasn't really getting the support that I needed from family. I was feminine. There were just certain things about me, like, I used to love to cook. I wouldn't play sports, and I used to love to clean, and certain things about me, they were like very feminine overall, and so they used to question it. My stepfather, he would ask me, he would be like, "Are you queer?" And back then, the word queer wasn't used in a way that was very, positive. And I would be like, maybe, who knows, possibly. But I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't really tell people what it was. And I don't think it was going to really get me anywhere. I couldn't really be like, I was beginning to cross-dress or anything. That wasn't going to be a safe thing to say to family. I was dependent on them. Yeah, I was living in like a suburban area of Los Angeles. Then I moved to the South Bronx, not knowing where I was going. So that was very shocking for me. In the mid-'80s, New York was not a very nice place, especially when you're, as someone that's coming in with very little resources. We didn't have a lot of access to services. Like in my case, I didn't know what was being, a transsexual, because, you couldn't suddenly go to a library and look something up like that. There might be repercussions. And so one of my coworkers, he had a trans girlfriend, and he confided in me that she was a trans woman and that she was going to be able to help me with my own medical transition. And she took me to a surgeon in New Jersey who started me in hormones under the age of 18, but back then they didn't really ask for ID. And my aunt discovered that I was taking medications and my breasts were beginning to develop, and so she checked my chest and she felt something different, something growing, and so then she told my mom, and so they were not very happy because I guess they were kind of ready to have like a gay nephew, but then it was like, wait a minute, there's more to that. It's not that. So as I began to transition medically, people were beginning to die of AIDS, and so it was very scary, and people around me began to get sick, and so and one of those persons was that friend that introduced me to the life that I'm celebrating, and so other people in my immediate circle, they started to also get sick, and they passed away. It's like you wanted to build community, but at the same time there was like a constant loss of community and histories. And I hear that a lot with the community that I work with. It's like our history is constantly being like erased. We have very few people who are staying around, who are living longer than past 40 due to violence or illness are high. So being a trans Latina for me is a sense of overall pride of the fact that many of us might cross multiple borders, in search for freedom, in search of safety to make our dreams come true, and we make it. Thinking about my community, like trans Latina, I associate it with strength.
Cristina still lives in New York. She works at the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Community Center in New York City and is also the founder of the Trans Latina Network, Go to our website for more on the network.
Thank you. Thank you.